There we go. It's Josh here from DRArchery. Today we're going to do a retro review. So today we're going to do a review of this PSE. So we've got a PSE. On the top there it says Elite. Now I think it's Free Flight or Fire Flight or something like that. Look, if you know exactly what this PSE is, write it in the comments below. I couldn't find anything that looked like this that actually had the timber cord link. So yeah, if that's something that write it down. And if you know when it was actually made, I'm pretty sure this was 80s though. This is in an absolutely amazing condition. Like, you can get her in the light, you can actually still see the fiberglass glittering, and I haven't even cleaned this. This is just literally how we got it, and like mandatory for the era, it's coming with the good old springy rest. So anyone who was around when these were actually shot new would remember that nearly everyone shot a springy rest as well. So the thing with these is it's unbelievably light. Like, it's really just not that heavy a bow, considering it's like 40 plus inches long. It's really quite light. You'd expect it to be heavier compared to today's bows, but it's really not. Back in the day, this thing would have been a really nice choice. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure exactly where it would have fitted in the market, as in price range market in the day. I'm assuming that it would have been probably right up the top. But I'm not sure if it crossed over. But there was, like I said, there's the same type of risers with a glass limb. Like, I'm not sure if this was made at the same time as that as well, and this was like a cheaper wood core option, or whether this was made and then the other one with the glass limb took over at some point. This design, this riser sort of shape and design was extremely popular for PSE. When I was a kid, I shot a PSE SLR 500, and it was a machine riser version, had a Magna glass limb, had a very similar cam to this. It was virtually the same shape. And there was a whole SL series of machine risers and different lengths and things for the adults. I was only a kid at the time, and the SLR 500 was pretty much the bee's knees. And I shot an awful lot of arrows out of that bow. And like I said, very similar to this, the shape. After those SL series, they sort of had a very similar, like I said, I'm not saying it's the same, but basically the same shape riser went on and was known as a Nova, which to be honest, I'm not sure exactly why PSE don't still make this. The Nova was extremely popular and had a really good price point. So later on, when they stopped making the Nova, they kind of retrofitted that into what they used to call, I think it was a deer season or deer hunter or deer hunt. I think it was deer hunt. I think deer season is the Winchester. Deer hunter, and it took a big step back from the Nova. It ended up back with like steel cables. Even this year's got a better cabling system than it did. It had a little basic cam with steel cables and teardrops. But again, it was the price point thing. And I'm a big fan of price point. If you can get archers to shoot your bow, when they're starting, they're more likely actually to stay with your brand. And that's something PSE does very good. They have quite a lot of good price points to get people started in the sport, which tends to follow through into their higher end range later on. But anyway, we're here to talk about this bow. So if you know exactly if it's got a particular name, like I'm pretty sure it wasn't just the PSE Elite series. I'm pretty sure it had a different name as well. But we used to get an awful lot of these. Probably 7 or 8 years ago, we used to get them quite a lot secondhand. Haven't seen so many recently, which is a shame. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with them. the thing that I have heard is that some people say, oh, you know, it's got a wood core limb, so you know what I mean. You know, you shouldn't shoot a compound with a wood core limb. Well, you know what I mean. That's just not true. Like, this bow here is absolutely wonderful, you know, and it still shoots today as good as it did when Peter Shepley rolled it off of his showroom floor. You know, I'm guessing, you know, early 80s. You know, could even be 70s, but I'm going to say early 80s. Yeah, and it's beautiful to draw, easy to hold, and to shoot. And like, you know, people rave on today. It's like, oh, I want an accurate bow, and I want a quiet bow, and I want a light bow, and you know, it's like, well, you know, do you? Like, because you know, PSE had all that. This has got all that. This is super accurate. Obviously, the length and the brace height, it's always going to be accurate. So it's super accurate, it's super quiet, it weighs, like, it really weighs not a lot, and you know, the only thing this bow really lets you down over, say, a new modern bow is going to be the speed. You know, the speed definitely is off the ball. Most people these days looking for a compound bow do like them to be around that 300 plus feet a second, at least IBO 300, like, depending on your draw length, you might be a little less, and if you're hunting and you've got a heavy arrow, you'll be less than 300 as well, but, you know, that's what they like it to read, you know. So, let's just have a look here. We've got this arrow, got that, and what have I got here? So we're like doing 171, so, you know, as we can see, yeah, it's quiet, it's light, it's super accurate, like it really is. It just takes no effort. You know, I'm only at 12 meters, but it really is effortless just to sit here and hit a 20-cent piece with this bow. But it definitely has very little speed. So that's 171, that's exactly the same. Again, I'll reset that. We'll crack a third one down here. Like, how accurate's that? Like, you know, maybe the reader's having a good day or something, but that's 171 3 times, exactly 171. So, yeah, so that's the retro review we've got here of this PSE Elite series. This one here happens to be a, you know, it's a 50-pound bow maximum. It looks like it's 29 inches. Man, the sticker's in absolute mint condition. One of the things that also helped with the longevity of this was that PSE was up on the fact that, you know, with a solid limb bow, you can get torque. You know, most modern day archers know about the torque of the cam and the lean of the cam, and, you know, I mean, we've got all these different things that can adjust that out these days. You know, old way was just adding shims backwards and forwards. You know, but, you know, the issue that we always had with a solid limb bow like this was that we've actually cut a hole into it. So if you get any limb torque left and right, or, you know, this is going to twist backwards and forwards, it would actually crack straight down the center of the riser, and limb, I should say, straight in the center of the limb. And that was really, back in this day and age, it was actually quite a common thing to see, you know, Hoyts and PSEs and, you know, their limbs blowing up. And for probably some time after this bow was even made, you'd see solid limbs break. And that was until, you know, I believe Hoyt invented the split limb, which really just, it was 2 limbs that could move up and down. And because they could move up and down like this here, independent of each other, then this here wouldn't crack in the middle. But with this bow that PSE's got, you know, they've literally reinforced. You can see there's like a whole reinforced layer that goes over the top. The axle here is through that reinforced layer. So this actual lamination underneath, this actual limb lamination, is not affected by having a hole or anything drilled through it. And, you know, they've got this little button in here, which is just to hold that literally tight. So if you do happen to get a little bit of movement, you know, that's not going to break. And the other thing, like a lot of people did this here, you know, but this one here was awesome. You know, it has a yoke. It's a proper hard steel yoke. So that alone ridged that all up and just pulled that cam and limb nice and straight. And like I said, you know, I still see these, you know, come in as second-hand bows that people are shooting in the backyard and things. Well, mate, like there'd be no reason why you couldn't go to an archery club with it, to be honest. Like they really are a wonderfully easy bow to shoot. You know, they're very easy and they're extremely forgiving. And the ambo stopped. That's good. You know, and for other people, you know what I mean, that are talking, you know, like, you know, that there's a one-piece compound bow. Like that bow is still together and, you know, is still being, you know, can still be shot today, you know. And then prior to that, there you've got the hanger bracket. So, you know, there's this is a left-handed bow. This is an old hanger bracket, one-piece compound bow. You know, and, you know, I can shoot an arrow out of that one there as well, you know. So, as a matter of fact, so yeah, like, yeah, well, this one here for the naysayers out there that don't really like wood core limbed compound bows. You know what I mean? This one here definitely outdates the PSE. And I'll just have a shot. Just put this here, it's left hand, I'll have to turn around, but you know what I mean? Let's have a go with this one. You know, beautiful, still shoots with the little bantam. You know, the little bantam here, you know, it's got the hole cut out, so it's not a hanger bracket, it's still a one piece. This is very little, like that's my arrow. You know, it's like a 30-inch arrow, it's like a really, really short. This is actually a little bit heavy, this bow. This has got quite a bit of, I'll see how I go. Yeah.